Hey, my name is Shilpa Patel and I'm obsessed with all things career development. I am a pharmacist turned entrepreneur who's transformed my passions into purpose. I've grown a podcast that has reached thousands of people across the globe. I'm building an online business and I've left my 9-to-5 to chase my dreams. I've walked this path of transformation myself, and now I'm here to share insights, strategies, and stories to help you carve out a career that you love. Career opportunities, personal development, challenges, growth, and building life skills are all things we discuss on this podcast. Be prepared to be inspired and motivated to step outside of your comfort zone. This is the Pharmacist Diaries podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Pharmacist Diaries. I'm super excited. This is episode 3 of my series with the wonderful Shilpa Patel. If you haven't listened or watched episodes 1 and 2, definitely check them out. We talked about Shilpa's career journey in episode 1, a short little recap because she's been on the podcast prior to this series. We talked about her journey into GP practice, as well as some tips and advice when it comes to recruitment and transitioning, specifically from a community pharmacy to a GP practice role. In episode 2, we dive into an amazing discussion all about the team development that she's implemented and how she has 10 pharmacists working with her now, which is an incredible achievement and something that she's really, really proud of. So really excited to showcase this episode, really excited for you to now hear more about the expanding and ever-evolving role of GP practice pharmacists. Welcome back.
Thank you. You've taken me back to those first 2 episodes, which I really enjoyed recording. If anyone hasn't watched them, go and watch them because I'm really proud of them. I thought we had a lot of fun and we spoke about a lot of, I think, things that you guys will all relate to, especially if you're a community pharmacist. But that second episode about leadership and it kind of made me realize what I've been doing for my team and made me feel really good, actually, that last episode.
I love it. This podcast always brings out a lot of reflection for people who join me for episodes, a lot about their story, their journey, what they've been able to build as well as part of their career. And it brings me joy to, I guess, showcase who you are and make you feel good as part of this experience, because it is quite daunting. Lots of cameras, lights, being questioned and then the content kind of going online. For some people, that's quite overwhelming. But I mean, we always like stepping out of our comfort zone, don't we? It makes us stronger and more courageous pharmacists. So really excited about this last episode of our series. I want to talk and dive into a lot of detail as to what GP practice pharmacists can be capable of. It is still a relatively new role in the realm of pharmacy, but I think GP practice pharmacists have definitely showcased that there is so much opportunity available for us, and some roles are going to be a little bit outside of the norm of what you think a pharmacist would be doing in a GP practice, especially if you're going into leadership and becoming a GP partner. So I'd really love to hear your journey. In episode 2, you shared that you became a GP partner within 2 years of joining the GP practice. And when you listen to that story, what's quite unique is you spent well over a decade in community pharmacy. You transitioned into a completely new environment, new role, unaware of what it was all going to involve, especially because it was a new part of pharmacy practice as a role in itself. But then within 2 years, you spent so much time educating yourself, learning, growing, developing yourself personally as well as professionally. And then to step into quite an awesome experience of a GP partner, which I haven't known many pharmacists who've ended up in that role. So I really want to learn more about your thought processes. How did that opportunity come about? What kind of skills did you think that you had at the time that would put you in a good position for that role?
Yeah, I suppose it happened quite early for me. The reason why it happened so early was because I was on a 2-year pilot scheme. And at the end of the 2 years where NHS England were funding the role, a decision had to be made. So the GP, the practice had to either take me on as a full-time pharmacist, and I think, I believe it was about 50% of the wages would be covered after that. But it was a big decision for them because I was 100% funded before this kind of review. And at the review, they had to make a decision whether to keep me on or to get rid of me, basically. And I kind of knew that they were going to keep me. And the reason why I knew that was because I'd really embedded myself into the surgery. I had made so many changes. I mentioned on episode 2 about all the kind of protocols I'd written. I had really kind of changed the whole prescribing practice. I'd put in so much safety that if I left, the GPs wouldn't feel safe anymore. I remember some of the GPs saying to me, ever since you've come in, I feel really safe, and I know there's someone kind of double checking everything I do. And because I used to run kind of reports all the time, I used to learn from errors and make sure they never happened again. So things like that. So at that 2-year review, I walked into the review knowing they're going to keep me. I was kind of hoping, maybe I'll get a bit of a pay rise. That was kind of on my agenda. I'm not very good at asking for pay rises, just as many of you listeners out there will feel the same. We're not very good at kind of going in and asking for things like that. And my whole aim was, let me try and get something out of this. And they actually offered me GP partnership, and it was a big surprise to me. I didn't realize they were even considering that. I didn't realize pharmacists could be GP partners at the time. So this is 6 years ago. And I got quite scared, actually. And I thought, what does that mean? And I had kind of come out of quite a difficult job as a community pharmacist, as a manager in a community pharmacy. And I'd come into this, which I'd say quite easy kind of role. I used to work 9 to 4. I used to pick up my kids. I had kind of got my life back again. And then they're offering me partnership. And I was like, I don't want to have to kind of be called on a Saturday if there's a fire alarm. I didn't really know kind of what it entailed. So I actually said no to begin with. And they said, look, think about it. And then I actually went back and asked them, why are you offering me GP partnership? Because I just didn't understand it. And they said they were worried that I would now be able to get a job in any GP practice in Brighton. And so they were really worried that I would leave them for a pay rise, or someone would poach me or something like that. They were, we had very honest conversations. So I told them exactly kind of what my problem was. I don't want to suddenly have to work all hours, and I don't want to have to kind of take on too much responsibility, and I'm really happy in my role. And then they kind of said to me, well, one of the things they said to me was, you'll get 8 weeks holiday. And I kind of was sold at that. I thought, right, 8 weeks holiday sounds great. Obviously, financially, you're part of the profit share. So then they started explaining all these things to me. And I kind of one day, speaking to my husband, and we decided, right, let's try it. Let's see where it goes. And looking back now, I can't believe that I was even considering saying no. It completely changed my life. It completely opened doors for me. It gave me so much authority. And the one thing it has given me is that sense of purpose that I've been looking for so many years. I don't think I would have got that if I hadn't have gone into this role. And it's made me be able to do what I do for all my pharmacists. It's, because I can make decisions. I can, I'm there when changes need to happen, and I can make those changes because I've got so much, I've got a really great team behind me, but I've also kind of just really used all of my strengths, all of my team members' strengths to be able to make any change. I've really got to a point now where I feel like anything's possible. And whenever we need to do something new, I feel like I can put myself forward and I can say, yeah, I'll go and do that. So, during COVID, so I became a partner probably 2 or 3 years before COVID. And during COVID, whenever there was a huge problem, I would put myself forward. And I got really kind of recognized during COVID because a lot of the doctors were really kind of worn out, overwhelmed by the end of it all. And somehow, probably because of where I live and because I had a lot of family support and COVID didn't hit me as bad as kind of maybe other people, I was really strong during the COVID days. And I took on a lot of new projects, which I have been recognized for now. And since then, I literally feel there's no end to what I can achieve going forward now. And to a point, and I've never told anyone this, Anisha, it's some new news that I've received recently. 4 of our partners are retiring, and there's 7 of us at the moment. And what we've decided is that I'm going to become the lead partner at the surgery.
Oh my goodness. And I get to share that
This
on
is the
here.
first time I'm mentioning it to anyone because it only got decided probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Some of our staff don't even know yet. So that's, again, I was in the same situation again. And the doctors have chosen me as the lead partner because of everything I've been doing over the last few years. And hopefully we can, I can share some of the things I've done that I think have got me recognized. But from July, I'm going to be making a lot more decisions. And again, I'm really, really scared. I'm really kind of worried about where it's going to take me. But I just feel like if I hadn't have become partner 6 years ago, these doors wouldn't have opened. And I'm hoping kind of this next step is going to open lots more doors to me.
Oh, well, congratulations. That's really genuinely exciting.
First lead pharmacist partner in the country, I think.
I know. That is so cool. And I'm so happy that I get to share that on here and showcase, again, what we are capable of. And the fact that you take on new opportunities, go out your comfort zone, try new things, it can lead to the most exciting adventures in your career. And pharmacy isn't just about the clinical element of being with the patient. There is so much beyond that. And because I teach MPharm students, of course, like the clinical focus is always the kind of foundation that they live and breathe and what they believe that pharmacists do on a day-to-day basis. That's what they're exposed to on placements as well. They're actively working with people who are directly patient-facing. So they don't even see what other things that we are capable of when it comes to leadership. So this will be really inspiring and motivating for loads of people, not just students, for qualified pharmacists, for people who are currently in GP practices and thinking, how can I expand my role? What other projects could I work on? What opportunities are there for me to try something different or learn a new skill? This episode obviously clearly highlights that there are so many opportunities that you don't expect, but they come to you sometimes when you least expect it. And I love that you walked into that room thinking that they're just going to, keep you on as a pharmacist. And boom, you get awarded like this incredible job. And they believed in you. They valued everything that you did. They respected you and they genuinely believed in you. That they thought that the skill, the experience and everything that you've done in that 2-year period qualified you to be a leader for the organization and help to build it and help to, grow it and nurture it and generate revenue from it as well, which is amazing. Amazing. Imagine you were still in a community pharmacy like right now, what you'd be doing compared to what you've achieved. I mean, it's insane. And community pharmacists, again, you guys are so capable of incredible things. And if you didn't start your role in a community pharmacy and you didn't spend 15 years slogging, you may not be where you are today. Like everything happens for a reason. Like I genuinely believe in that. And that moment when you were on your lunch break and you were done and you quit, like a lot of things have led to this point. And I love that about your story. And I love that we get to share this and we get to showcase that through a podcast episode, which is amazing. Tell me about other projects and opportunities that you've worked on that are different, or things that people would maybe not know about in terms of a GP practice pharmacist role. What things have you genuinely got involved in that you've really enjoyed?
As a pharmacist, I know firsthand how challenging it can be to maintain our health and well-being whilst caring for others. I am a true believer of making the time to look after my physical, mental and emotional health, and I love the idea of using natural supplements to support me on this journey. That's why I was so excited to find The Naked Pharmacy. Their products are 100% plant-based and naturally sourced, 100% biodegradable, and it feels really safe to know that they are formulated, tested and manufactured to the same standard as a pharmaceutical product. However, the most important fact to share is that their CEO and founder, Kevin Levers, is a pharmacist with over 35 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. I love that as a community, we can support our pharmacy colleague every time that we purchase a product. As a Pharmacist Diaries listener, you get an exclusive 20% discount off all Naked Pharmacy products using the code PD20. Just visit www.thenakedpharmacy.com and treat yourself to something new.
As I mentioned, during COVID, I put myself... They were asking for GPs to run the COVID vaccination centres in Brighton. We got told we had to vaccinate 600,000 people. And there was a group of GPs who were supposed to be doing this together. And when I went to one of my meetings, they were all saying, we are so overwhelmed. We are so tired. We're right at the end of it. None of them wanted to put themselves forward to lead kind of the COVID vaccination centre. And I was listening, and I was actually quite scared. I was like thinking, shall I not? And I just put myself forward and I said, well, does it have to be a GP? Can it not be me? Oh, no, it's got to be a GP, and I get that at a lot of meetings I go to. And then I always challenge them and I go, well, why? I might be the only pharmacist partner in the room, but why can't it be a pharmacist partner who puts themselves forward? And this was another opportunity, and I've been really lucky in my life, all these opportunities. I've been in the right place at the right time kind of thing. But because I put myself forward for that and I led kind of the COVID vaccination centre in one of the COVID vaccination centres in Brighton, and I did an amazing job. I kind of went all out as some of us pharmacists do. We go a bit crazy with when we put ourselves forward for something, and I did a really, really good job, and I got recognised for that. So since then, they've realised, a lot of people realised my organisational skills, my leadership skills. I realised it, but obviously other people needed to realise it as well. And then since then, I've been involved in quite a few really amazing projects where other people have asked me to be the leader. So one of them was our surgery got a little bit too big. It was growing a lot, but we were running out of consultation rooms. So we decided to merge with another surgery. And that was a whole 6 to 8 months project. And I was asked to lead that project. Again, didn't have a clue what I was doing. I had to meet with the IT because we had to kind of work on IT. I went to meetings once a week for 8 months. Just learning about how the IT systems work at the different practices and how we can integrate them. And then it was kind of dealing with all the staff, dealing with the HR, dealing with the finances, all the rules and regulations, getting new CQC checks put in place. So many things involved in a merger, which you wouldn't even understand. You wouldn't begin to imagine what kind of things you have to get involved in as a merger lead. And so I spent 6 to 8 months learning all of that and leading the whole project. And I was really some of the things that I kind of really enjoyed was branding. So I was working with like a brand consultant, and we designed a new logo. We changed the name of our organization, so we're now called Wellbeing, which is kind of a play on words. So we're well-being, but the postcode in Brighton is BN. So we're Wellbeing. And BN, actually, the postcode BN goes all the way to Eastbourne, and it kind of goes all along the southeast. So my vision is that kind of Wellbeing can expand and carry on. We're in 3 different parts of Brighton right now, but we're hoping to expand further. And then I spent a long time designing the logo. Had the whole team involved. We had lots of workshops, and I was running the workshops, and I was kind of like just splashing money here and there and just really enjoying it, because it was, to me, it felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it was a really big deal. And so we've got a beautiful logo now, and we've got it plastered all around the side of the building, and our building's quite big. And so I was involved in all these kind of different things that a pharmacist would normally never be involved in. And then following on from that, I got really involved in our kind of Google rating, because as soon as we merged, we weren't doing very well, because there was a lot of kind of complications, and a lot of patients weren't happy, and, staff, were feeling uneasy because of all the changes and everything. So there was like a transition period of about 4 months where we didn't really know what we were doing, and our Google ratings kind of went down. Now, in a GP practice, I've noticed GPs, they don't really look at Google reviews. They look at NHS website, where you can get, and there's 2 or 3 NHS kind of websites where you get reviews. But I know that patients look at Google reviews, and I kept banging on about this. I was like, our Google ratings are not looking very good at the moment. And the rest of my partners didn't seem to be too bothered about it, because CQC don't look at that. And it's I think back in the day, there wasn't Google reviews, and it was all kind of NHS-y. So I put lots and lots of effort into our Google reviews. We had an average of 3.5, and I just checked it last month, and we're now on 4.8. And that's taken a lot of work, but over the last 2 years, I have been, learning from every single review we get on Google reviews, making sure we improve our systems so that we don't get, those kind of reviews again. If anyone puts a bad review, I will call them up straight away. I'll track them down. I'll try and resolve their issue, and then I'll talk to them about, please, can you change that review? And I've had people change, 1-star reviews to 5-star reviews after they've spoken to me, and I've kind of resolved their issues. So I've gone kind of above and beyond, and really kind of done things that I really enjoy, and things that I've been made a big change really for our surgery, because not only is it getting our Google review rating, it's teaching me lots and lots of things, and it's making us improve as a surgery. And, I can now be proud and say we've got a 4.8 rating. And that just showcases that, we're actually providing a really good service to our patients now. And we can only do that if our staff are happy. So it's a reflection on the practice as a whole, really. And probably one more thing that I've been working on recently is a PPG. So every surgery has a patient participation group. And I've always been told that it's really difficult to set up a patient participation group. We used to have one when I first started 8 years ago, and there was 2 patients that used to participate in this group. Now, participation from patients is really, really important, I think, because you can get so much feedback from them, you can learn so much from them, and it's actually a CQC requirement to have a PPG. But it's always been quite a difficult thing, I've been told, to set up. So in the last 2-3 years, I got really involved in our PPG, and I did a lot of kind of advertising, and I got lots and lots of members. And I think I got about 26 at our highest point who were now attending our PPG every 3 months. And I, we have meetings every 3 months, and I learned so much from them. And we've made lots and lots of improvements from that. And that's just to kind of bring kind of a few things that I've done that are quite different to what other pharmacists would get involved in. And I've kind of just picked things that I really enjoy. And I think I enjoy finding where we're not doing very well and making changes to make improvements. And then I can see those improvements. But I've kind of put myself out there a lot of times and just done things very differently. But when you take on a general practice role, whether you're a partner or not, you can actually kind of get involved in all these things. I'm involved in the website design. I kind of completely changed our website. It used to be blue and very NHS-y, and now it's really colourful, which is something that works really well in Brighton, because a lot of the Brighton kind of patients really like that kind of ethos, a very colourful ethos. And then I've started a newsletter for our patients. It's called A Dose of Wellbeing. And again, there we can showcase what we're doing. We can advertise things to our patients. But it means that I've kind of got a voice in Brighton. I've got a voice. I can... I ask a lot of the doctors to put articles in there, or I ask a lot of our staff to get involved, and a lot of them won't get involved. And I think, oh, great, I can just put everything that I want to put in there then. It's like kind of my voice that's going out there, and I get to choose what goes in the newsletters. And I think not just for pharmacists, but anyone working for an organization, the leaders want input. Their leaders want people to help. We've got so much to do. If anyone says to me, any of our staff or any of the pharmacists say, do you know what, I'd love to help with this, I'm never going to say no. I'm going to say, yeah, come and help me. There's so many different things other than the clinical side. And I suppose that's kind of been one of my strengths as well. I'm not very clinically focused, and I don't feel like I'm the best kind of clinician in a lot of areas. Certain things I've done really well, like my benzo detox clinic, things that I'm quite proud about. But and I've run a really successful hypertension clinic. So there's probably a few things that I feel I'm really good at. But most of the other things, I know there's other pharmacists who are way, way better at the clinical side than me. But I'm good at management. I'm good at leadership. I'm good at organizing things. And there will be a lot of pharmacist listeners out there who might not be kind of clinically as as good as other pharmacists. But it doesn't matter, because you can focus on your management skills. You can focus on the skill that you're really good at and just go all out. General practice is quite a new thing. So, a lot of doors have opened, and we're able to kind of get involved in whatever we want, really. I've kind of made the role, the kind of role that I wanted it to be.
Oh my goodness. Just stop the excitement. I mean, when you look at your role, and I'm just, in my head, I was just listing out all the skills. I mean, look at all the things that you've managed to gain experience with or in. Project management, innovation, marketing, sales, patient satisfaction, developing services, building communication in different ways through like a newsletter rather than, phone calls or, emails and things like that. You've talked about creativity, and you've really utilized that creative side of you. And there are so many pharmacists who are creative, and I think they just don't realize it. Like podcasting for me is my creative dream. It's allowing me to have innovation, allowing me to utilize skills that I wouldn't normally use in a clinical role, but ones that I genuinely love, even if it was doing arts and crafts, but it's transferable to something pharmacy specific. So it's really exciting to hear that you're able to showcase so many other transferable skills. I mean, when you look at a really good example is that we learn so much about auditing and quality improvement, right? In our foundational degree It's included in the clinical pharmacy diploma. It's included in a lot of, master's degrees when it comes to your dissertation. You're doing data analysis and auditing, gathering data, analysing what the meaning is, doing research. It's embedded into a pharmacist's role. But what you've taken is the kind of foundational skill and then utilised it in different ways that pharmacists wouldn't necessarily use it on. So you've looked at Google reviews for patients and you've seen that, hey, 3.5 is not great. We can do a lot better than this. What can we do with that data to help within 1 year improve it to 4 and then 2 years improve it to 4.5 or whatever statistics that you wanted to achieve, and you made it happen. And you put an extremely personal touch on it to call patients directly and figure out who they are and why they're unhappy is a really important part of being a partner and having that strategy to make sure that your patients are happy. Not only your staff, like your actual patients who come into your surgery who are there for their own health and well-being, feel happy and comfortable and confident coming into this GP practice to get the support that they need to thrive. And you're making loads of small steps to improve that. And you're thinking about them as well and what they want. And you're problem solving. Again, like problem solving is a natural skill that you would have as a community pharmacist. You're constantly solving problems, whether it's a doctor writing an incorrect prescription, whether they've put the wrong quantity, whether it's a product that's out of stock and you have to find an alternative, whether you're solving issues with patients who come to the counter, phone calls that are coming through, staff that are having issues. Like, it's endless. CDs, like there's control drugs issues. There's loads of problems to constantly solve throughout your day, but you just don't, I think people out there don't realize that doing those small things regularly, which might feel like mundane jobs and part and parcel of being a community pharmacist, has given you the foundation to then expand on that role in different ways and on a much larger scale. You definitely wouldn't have gotten involved in this type of scale of projects within the community pharmacy, right? But out of interest, out of wanting to try something new and take on a new experience and go with the flow and see what happens and do your absolute best to make it work, like that's part and parcel of your personality. And that's a very unique trait. Not everybody can feel that comfortable going into something uncomfortable. Like running an entire project for a vaccination program is a big opportunity, like rebranding and looking at a logo, which the whole of Brighton will be seeing, and it's all over the internet and that's a big deal. But for some people that could be quite overwhelming, right? But you've utilized a lot of your skills and just put them into different places. And it just showcases that you're willing to try new opportunities to help you to gain those skills. And it kind of comes along with the next question that I have, is that how have you learnt how to do a lot of these things? I mean, experience is definitely part and parcel of the journey, but what other things have you done to educate yourself to make sure that you are a good leader, a good partner, a good manager, a good, specialist pharmacist as well? Like, what training have you gone through, or what courses have you done that have helped that journey?
Mm-hmm. I think I've really, I've kind of taken a step back and realized that I'm not an expert. I actually, when I first joined the practice, I think one of the good things that happened to me was that I realized I was naive. I was probably naive, and that's probably my strength, because I didn't know. I realized that I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was going to do in this role. And I realized that I'm going to need to learn everything from scratch. I realized that within a couple of days. And I think because I wasn't afraid to admit that, every step of the way I would be asking, why do we do this? And so I was learning every single day. And for the first, I did the CPP pathway, which is something, all pharmacists who come in on the NHS England pathway have to do. It's an 18-month pathway where you learn all about general practice, and you learn. You go to a lot of clinical workshops, so you get to learn quite a lot about each kind of topic. But I was also learning on the job every single day. There's so much to learn, and not just clinical, but also kind of managerial processes, things like that. I was constantly asking questions, and I didn't feel embarrassed to ask questions because I established right in the beginning, I said, look, I'm from community pharmacy. I don't have a clue how this works. And I think I did that in the partnership as well. I've kind of gone in and I'm asking why. And the word naive comes to mind because they do call me quite naive. They're like, she's new here. She doesn't know what's going on. And I've been there 8 years now, but I'm still kind of the newbie because obviously these GPs have been there for like 30 years and stuff. But because I'm looking at things with fresh eyes, I start seeking different ways of learning things. I haven't always gone down kind of that normal route. And obviously there wasn't a lot of courses for pharmacists when I first joined, specific, to what we have to be delivering. So there wouldn't be a specific course for pharmacists to run a hypertension clinic. So I was having to go to a nurse's course or a GP course, and then there wasn't funding towards it. And, so I've kind of had to, I've had it quite difficult in a way. So I've had to learn a lot on the job. I've been really lucky. I've been learning loads from my GPs. I spend a lot of time just learning, seeing what they do, asking questions. I never feel like I can't ask. We've got lots of opportunity. We've got kind of a clinical supervisor every day. We've got a huddle every day. We've got a weekly clinical meeting. So I take lots and lots of questions to them and I learn from them. NICE guidelines have been a lifesaver. I didn't realize at one point I was running a minor illness clinic. I literally had NICE guidelines opened on the side and I used to just look up every single illness. I've always been very strict about diagnosis, so I don't want to diagnose. And the same for all our pharmacists. None of us diagnose, but once we've got a diagnosis, we can treat any condition pretty much. As long as the diagnosis is correct, I think, because that's where it can go wrong. If you've got the wrong diagnosis, then, the rest of the treatment pathway could go really bad. But once we've got a diagnosis, NICE guidelines, and between kind of all the information that's out there, you can actually treat any condition. And I really learned that with the minor illness kind of course. The clinic that I set up, as long as I got a diagnosis, I would just follow the NICE guidelines. We decided to set up an ADHD clinic. And I looked around and there was a course, the company's called UKAN, UKAAN. I was really keen to get some of our pharmacists on there. The GPs had already been on there. They wouldn't let us on there to begin with. And I had to email several times and I was like, well, the future is pharmacists now. You're really kind of if you're closing your doors to us, there's going to be loads of pharmacists wanting to do this soon. And for some reason or the other, they allowed us to do it. So 3 of us went on the course and we can now diagnose and prescribe for ADHD. So I think it's one of the first pharmacist-led clinics that have been set up in the country, where a pharmacist is kind of running the whole service. But I'd say mostly we kind of learn a lot of it on the job. And then we teach each other. So we spend a lot of time sharing things together. And then obviously we've got askshilpa.com where I put everything I've learned, and the other pharmacists in our group have now got logins for that. So they all kind of keep uploading stuff onto there. So I've got like a mental health specialist and he's putting all his mental health work on there. And we're trying to just share that with the rest of the country now so people can kind of learn from what we've done. And yeah, that's the kind of education pathway we've kind of gone down.
I think learning on the job is one of the best ways to experience growth.
Yeah.
Because being part of something new, you're always going to develop personally and professionally. Sometimes it's a wing it situation that works really, really well. I mean, I experienced that a lot when I lived in the UAE, solely because I was the only pharmacist who worked for the initial job that I had. So there was no one to bounce ideas off of. So I just kind of had to go with the flow. I got to design my own entire pharmacy and build it from the ground up. And this was when I was 3 years qualified. So I was a proper baby pharmacist going into a leadership position and being able to have funding and ask people for quotations for different designs. And that creative side, again, was something really fun. But also I worked in a tiny box, smaller than this office as my pharmacy. And I knew exactly what space I needed, how my process flowed and how I wanted the workflow to flow in terms of dispensing and checking and filling bags for the ambulances, etc. So I knew exactly what I wanted the design to look like, and that wouldn't have come unless I had the experience, right? So a lot of things, even when we went from a paper-based system to an electronic, it took 9 months to implement that project across the whole country. And I worked with a whole bunch of IT specialists. Again, I was the subject matter expert. I was the only pharmacist. So I had to make sure I followed all the kind of legal guidelines, the health authority kind of government rules with regards to prescribing and transferring drugs from one location to another, invoices, procurement, supply chain. I learned so many things that my initial residency hospital job just never gave me exposure. And there was no choice. So it helped me to grow as a leader and helped me to understand what type of leader that I wanted to be as well. And the entire experience was learning from doing. And I actually love learning that way. I love trial and error. I love putting myself in a position where I sometimes don't know what I'm doing so that I can learn from it and implement change. And it sounds like we are really similar, that we put ourselves forward for lots of different things that we don't necessarily know all the answers, but we're willing to learn and give it a try, which I think is, again, part and parcel of our personalities. But I think it also highlights that, you know, pharmacists are capable of doing different things that we wouldn't generally be known to kind of do on a day-to-day job or a day-to-day kind of GP practice role. Because when you think about that, your initial thoughts are a pharmacist in a clinical office seeing back-to-back patients all day long. You don't necessarily know the business side, the finance side, formulary, you know, dealing with medication safety, building the practice, you know, looking at the demographics and targeting what types of patients that you'll see or what type of drugs that you would prescribe, or expanding the clinics according to what the needs are of the population. We're utilizing so many exciting skills, and I think it's really exciting that this role even exists. And I look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future. What are your thoughts on what the future of GP practice roles are going to look like, especially when you think about pharmacy students coming out of MPharm with a prescribing degree? What are your thoughts on that?
I just think we're so lucky right now. We're so lucky to be where we are. Never, ever expected this many years ago. I remember I used to go to work and my husband would go to his office job, and I always used to say to him, "Oh, I wish I had an office job like you." And then for many years, he'd be working from home or wherever, and I'd be like, "Oh, I wish I was working from home like you." And we've got to a point where we can do, you know, people are working from home, people are working in an office. People's lives have changed completely. And 20 years ago, the only option we had was hospital, industry, or community. Hospital, we used to think, is really difficult to get into. Industry was impossible. So most of us became community pharmacists. Now, there's so many opportunities. It's not just general practice. I met the other day a clinical director. So she'd gone down the PCN route and she's become a clinical director, which is a whole different, you know, I was chatting with her for a good hour about what that all entails. And I think the fact that we're becoming prescribers now, it's going to open so many doors to us. And hopefully, you know, people, because I really feel we're at kind of like a tipping point. It could go really well or it could go really wrong. We could end up making loads of errors. We could end up really kind of not using our prescribing role as what it should be. I think we need to take a step back again now and really look at how can we make the most out of this. We're going to get a lot of young pharmacists who come out. If they start prescribing straight away, there could be problems, but let them grow and slowly bring in their prescribing. I wasn't too much of a fan of the fact that when they announced that everyone can now just be a prescriber. I've been training prescribers for the last 4 years. So I've been a DPP and I've had 30 odd students go through my program. So I've done a lot of training with newly qualified pharmacists and pharmacists who've been qualified for quite a few years. And there's a huge difference there. So the ones who have got that experience, who've worked in either hospital or in community pharmacy for many years, I'm able to train them because they've got certain consultation skills and they've got all of that behind them before they actually become a prescriber. The newly qualifieds, I'm finding much, much harder to train them because you'll remember when we came out of university, we weren't confident. We didn't really know what we were doing. And I'm hoping that the universities have put in enough kind of consultation skills, note-taking, the legal side of things. They need to understand all of that before they can become prescribers. And it is quite scary that they're all going to come out as prescribers newly qualified. But the opportunities right now are endless. And I think the fact that general practice has allowed us to come and join them, I would encourage as many pharmacists as possible to join a general practice, to join any of these new roles that are coming out. There's the ICB roles, there's the PCN roles, there's things like what you're doing. There's so many entrepreneurial roles. There's online prescribing going on. So you can really now take a step back and think, what do I actually want to do? What am I really good at? And if you're not good at what you pick, you can go and try something else. But we're no longer in that situation where we can only choose between 5 different community pharmacy companies to work for. We can actually go and try so many different things. And I think that's one of the reasons why I keep putting myself out there. So many times I've said to my team, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? The surgery will close down and we'll just go and get another job. I just feel like there's so many job opportunities for us. And with the right people, you can go and set up your own company now, and you can, there's so much you can do. I did want to mention about the whole kind of general practice route, and how I shared my story about how I didn't think it was possible for us to be general practice partners. But I think for pharmacists now, there's huge opportunity to become a GP partner. Lots of GPs don't want to be partners. When we have tried to recruit for GP partnership, we either can't find the right type of GPs who have kind of been in that role for long enough to actually apply, or we've approached GPs and they don't want to be GP partners. We've also approached GPs to work for us, and they don't want to work for us, and that's how I've ended up with so many pharmacists. So one step is to actually get into general practice. It's quite easy now to get into general practice because there are so many positions available. But really think about trying to get to that partnership role. It might not happen within 2 years like it did for me, but I truly believe that a lot of pharmacists can become partners now. And I think we could do really good. We could do really well being partners because we think very differently. We think, as you say, creatively. We have got that business acumen. I think very different to the rest of the GPs there. And that's why, they've chosen me as lead partner, because I come in with fresh eyes. And and I'm making so many changes, so many improvements. I think they're all quite stuck in the way GP practices used to run for so many years. And I've come in, as I said earlier, asking why. Why are we doing it like that? Why are we still doing it like that? It doesn't need to be done that way. So I've been brave enough to bring these changes in place, and that's what they can see. And that's why they want me to lead the organization, so I can keep bringing those kind of changes in, which they probably aren't able to bring in because they can't see it. They're so used to running things in a certain way. It's really hard for them to see the change and to be that change. So for pharmacists listening right now, it's a long journey, but think outside the box and use your skills to apply for those roles. Go to your GP partners and ask them, if they're looking for a GP partner, they might say no right now. Ask them next year. Keep asking, because I really, really believe pharmacists could be in those roles. And I think we're going to see a lot more pharmacists in GP partnership going forward.
Oh my goodness. And that's a wrap on this episode. I'm so happy to have you here. So happy that actually I've got an update on your journey and your story.
Kept it as a surprise for you.
I know. I'm so excited. No, I'm really pleased to have heard everything that's kind of happened over the last couple of years, especially since we last recorded. And when I think back to the episode that we did, it was an incredible episode. But if I look at your your personality and how you came across in terms of public speaking and showcasing who you are, you're definitely a different person to 2 years ago. People will go back and watch it now because they'll be like, what was Shilpa like? But no, I think you were a little bit more reserved in terms of showcasing what you're doing. You were happy to share everything in terms of your story and your journey and the challenges that you faced, how you overcame them, and showcase that you went into a new role. And that was really, really exciting. But because so much has happened over the last couple of years, from COVID to the change in the roles, implementing all these new projects, developing your team, that's allowed you to become a lot more confident as a leader and has helped you to really flourish in your role. And I'm really happy to see that. And I'm happy to obviously showcase that through a podcast episode. So thank you so much for coming to record this series with me. And I hope everybody enjoyed watching it. Thanks for everyone for tuning in to this 3-part series. I really hope that you gained a lot of kind of education, inspiration and motivation to maybe try something new or step outside your comfort zone and ask to get involved with a new project or change a job. I think there's so many good takeaway messages from Shilpa's story and everything that we've learned across the 3 episodes. And if you're tuning into this episode and haven't listened or watched episodes 1 and 2, go back and watch them. I promise you that it'll be worth your time. All right. Thank you.